played for the Oakland Raiders from 1973 to 1986. Let me tell you what, to Canton, Ohio, well, ain't very far. But the roads I have traveled, it's been a long road, it's been a great road.
Here's Guy who's punting for a 59-yard average today. It's a hard drill spiral. It lands on the 15 and bounds straight down the right sideline into the end zone.
Ray Guy changed the whole dynamics about punting.
It was clear to me that Ray Guy was the best punter that had ever played in the game.
In the back of our minds, we don't get a first down, being backed up on our own goal line, well, Ray Guy's going to, save us. And 99% of the time, he did.
Fourth down is not a fun down. As a coach, that always burns your gut. You hate fourth down. And I say this honestly, Ray Guy, in some ways, made you enjoy fourth down.
He changed the whole idea of the punting game.
Prior to Ray Guy, I don't believe anyone ever talked about hang time and the significance of that.
A 5.2-second hang time on a 60-yard punt.
Boy, Raymond's really hot today.
He was probably the best punter that ever punted in the history of the game.
Ray opened the door for all the punters that came after him. Somebody always has to be the leader of the pack. The fact that he is the first punter in the Hall of Fame shows that he was a leader of the pack.
I'm Ray Guy, and this is my road to Canton. Coming back here, that brings me back a little bit to the reality of where I came from, my roots, what I was taught as a young lad, along with my two older brothers and all that. Sometimes we have to go back to that to get back down to who we really are. Man, this place has changed. This is where it all started, as a little young type. There were 5 of us, Mom and Dad and my older brother Larry and my middle brother Al and myself. The way I am now, that's just the way we were raised. We were raised to appreciate one another, respect one another, respect other people. Not even open. Didn't think it would be. Each one of us, we actually decided we wanted to play football. And you always go ask your dad. And he said, okay, fine. He said, there are 2 things. Don't forget about your chores around the house, because you got things you got to do. But if you go out, you don't quit. You don't quit. Because if you start quitting in the middle of something, he said, as life goes on and you get older, it becomes easier and easier to quit things that you're doing. And what you're doing is 2 things. You're letting yourself down, but you're also letting your fellow worker down. He said, don't ever quit. One year for Christmas, my 2 older brothers and I, we each got a pair of football pants and shoulder pads and jerseys and helmets, and we put them on, and then we go out to the pasture right here and we play football. When growing up, I never thought about, going on to the pros or playing higher levels of football, and I was just playing. We were just, at that particular time, whatever. Yeah. Brings back a lot of memories. It really does. Fun time. I guess back then you don't realize that how things really are. You just kind of carefree and growing up, having fun. Even though you get older, you still got your memories. And that's a good thing.
What was your relationship like with your mom?
Very close. Mom was really the, I guess you call the backbone of the family. She held everything together.
Sound like good folks.
They're great folks. But this is probably one thing I wish they were here. But they're not. They are, but they're not. But they'll still be cheering. Hey, you know I went by the old home place, Larry. When's the last time you been there?
I've been by it a lot of times.
You need to stop by there. You need to stop by there. But I tell you what, pulling in there, I started remembering everything that went on out there. We were never inside it. We were always outside playing or playing sports somewhere. Yeah. But it was typical boys, yeah. 3 boys. How Mama survived that, I'll never know.
I coached you in 8th grade.
Was it 8th grade?
8th grade. So that's when you started kicking. Yours is a God's gift. Nobody else can kick like you around. And they tried it, but they didn't do it. And nobody could kick like he could. Never seen nobody kick that way. Well, I knew he would amount to something in the pros. He didn't really make the television until you got to be a pro. Right. But when he went to the Raiders, and I knew then that he was the real deal.
You know, Daddy used to he used to take me to the practice field. Some of the things I can remember, one of the main things, you know, a lot of people talk about hang time with him and all, but that's one of the things I can remember, just sitting there thinking, you know, how high that you were able to kick the ball and all. And then, you know, the biggest thing that I can remember and that he always instilled was that, you know, no matter whether they needed a 50-yard punt, a 30-yard punt out, you know, inside the 10-yard line, whatever it was, that, you know, no matter what, he'd always go out there and do it because it's about the team. And, you know, that's one of the big things I can remember, you know, with you.
What you got there? Oh, that's them, oh my Lord. Man.
Mama and them tried 4 times to have a girl.
Well, all of our names supposed to be Margaret. Well, apparently we wasn't going to have a Margaret.
Right. They had 3 boys.
Yeah. I know one thing. I have some big ears. Let's see.
He was kicking, and I didn't want him to overkick. So I said, that's enough. And he said, Coach, I'm still warming up.
In Super Bowl 18, he made a play that was incredible.
Something that could have maybe determined the outcome of the game.
My early impressions was that he was pretty doggone good. The first practice we have, he was kicking, and I didn't want him to overkick. So I said, that's enough. And he said, Coach, I'm still warming up. And I thought those were some of the best kicks I'd ever seen, and they were his warm-ups. So he kept warming up, and then he goes, okay, I'm ready to go. And then he started to punt some of the longest, highest punch you've ever seen. He was the best punter that ever punted in the history of the game.
Highway 17 going towards out of Thompson to the location of the farm where pretty much a lot of things began to happen then. Think about when you're driving here, what it was like, you know, to be down here at a young age, and I want to say it's, you know, somewhere around when I was 10, 11, 12 years old, somewhere in there. It ain't the same, Mr. Bro.
See, Bob.
How you doing, man?
Let me tell you about the place. You haven't been here in a while, have you?
No. Now I'm trying to figure out where the house was. It was kind of depressing. The barn's gone, the house is gone, everything is gone, the pastures are gone, the garden is gone. But it was right there in our mind. You can see what it is now. I mean, it's nothing but undergrowth and trees and all that. Nothing's here, but everything is still here, and I still hear it.
You know, I can stand here, I can hear my mother calling them when we was working in the field. She would holler for us at lunchtime. You can hear the tractors, you can feel even when the wind blows. It's basically, it was 50 years ago. We'd start the day at least 6 or 7 o'clock. We had the fields, we would either be plowing or we'd be picking, you know, some of the crop.
We had to go pick all that cotton and the peas, then we had to take it to the mill. We spend all night at the pea cannery until we get ready to go across the scales and sell it, and we come back to the house. So it was a typical farm family. I learned a lot from that by respecting what you had. I mean, you don't complain of what you don't have.
You have a job, you do your job, and then if you got any time left over, that's when you had your fun. When it came to athletics, we had fun at it, and it was a lot of fun. Football, the reason we liked it was because it was competitive. We could run, we could throw, we could tackle. You couldn't tackle no basketball.
No.
It was just 2 against 1, and you see if you could score. And you had to put on some moves to get by that 1 to get by the 2. And let me tell you, we didn't have shoulder pads helmet, and it was full speed and tackle. We'd just run down there and just, you know, try to tackle them hard as you could. Ray really didn't grow tall till he got up into high school. He was midget. He was tiny.
You know, even at that young age of being a little tot running around, you know, I had no clue, but there was something growing.
His forte at the beginning was kicking here, out here, just to see how far he could kick it.
You would out-kick me all the time, and I got mad about it, so now I'm going to do my best to outdo him. So I just get out here on my own and invent things to do or goals to shoot for, and I just kept, you know, trying things.
You would tee the ball up on dirt. Didn't have no shoes.
No.
With a limited budget that we had, we couldn't afford many shoes, so you didn't get to kick much with your shoes on. So that's where you started kicking barefoot.
Yeah.
Whenever he kicked the ball, he'd kick it at least 40 or 50 yards. But see, that didn't register with us as being anything spectacular. We didn't know what 50 yards was.
When you're out in a location like this and you don't have a lot of kids grow up in your same age, you pretty much entertain yourself.
Yeah.
Football was fun. It was something that I never had any inkling growing up here that I'd wind up where I'm going to be in August. That's just a road that we travel. We had the old football field where technically I first started playing, my brother first started playing, my older brother did too. Go over there, see what that looks like, you know, how it's changed.
So this is where we began.
This is where
organized sport for us began. This is the field we played on. This is where we started, and it hadn't changed a bit.
I want to say it was like 1962 when I first went out for football, and it was the little bitty midgets, and we practiced over there. When he graduated and went to East Tennessee State, I stepped up into my junior year, and that's when I took over the quarterback. And my first regular game, competition game, was right here on this field. We played one. That was our opening day.
First punt I ever punted on here was right here. It went out toward the lights and curved back into the field.
So that's where I got the curve from.
Had the curve, and it went down there to the scoreboard.
I learned a lot from Al. I've always patterned myself after him. Al was kind of my teacher or mentor. or he was my goal that I need to catch.
There's always got to be somebody ahead of you that kind of sets the standard, and then the person behind it breaks the records. As I came along and then moved to Thompson, we were able to win all of our games but lost in the state playoffs. Ray came along 2 years later, won the state, and I know that was his goal. He said, Al got this far, I'm going to take it to the next level.
The only thing that I kind of get upset with him, and I've told him a bunch of times, why didn't he continue the punting? Because he could have made it into the NFL. And I would have loved to have him on the other side and me on the other side, because I knew I could beat him then. Sorry, brother.
He has accomplished so much. I am absolutely proud as I can be. People say, Ray Guy's your brother? I said, no, I'm Ray Guy's brother.
We're playing in the Superdome. He says, can I take a shot at the gondola? And I said, no, this is a football game. Don't be shooting at any doggone gondola.
This is where we came. We played out in the streets at night. I remember one time we was out here punting the ball out here, and I hit them wires right there, and the whole street went out. Fire was shooting everywhere, and I was scared to death. So I was afraid to go inside, but I did. I went and hid. I always had an awareness that I had something, but I really haven't figured it out, what it is. I just knew that I developed it. I tell you, standing here right now looking at the old Presbyterian church. At the top of it, they got a steeple. It's got like a little hole up there that they had like an urn sitting there with an artificial flower in or something. And we'd always bet each other who could knock it out. It was there, it was something to try, and a few times I would hit it. What I was doing here back in junior high is the same thing that I carried all the way through my career in football. If I'm going to try to hit that flower out of the top of that church up there, I've got to aim my leg straight toward it. You learn trajectory, you learn height, and things of that nature. So from the early youth on up until my days I retired, I was always learning.
Ray loved to play games. I mean, he loved to throw the ball, see how far you could throw it, throw a ball through a tire, kick and see if you could hit something. And we're playing in the Pro Bowl. It was in the Superdome, and they had that gondola hanging down there. It's in the third quarter, and he starts to go in, and he says, can I take a shot at the gondola? And I said, no, this is a football game. Don't be shooting at any doggone gondolas. And then I thought, what the heck? It's the Pro Bowl. So he starts running in, so I called him back. And I said, come on back. I said, go ahead, I'll give you one shot. And so boom, he hits it and goes up, and they were so proud of you. No one can ever hit this gondola. It's, it's high. And so anyway, Ray Guy hit the gondola.
I had a bunch of great times on that field there with the guys. I guess it was my sophomore year when I started at quarterback, and our first game was with Warren County. And I was sitting on the front of the bus, and about halfway to Warrenton, going around one of them curves, it had that double line in the middle of the road. And on the side of the road, if we get there, it says, do not pass. She looked at me and said, be careful, do not pass. Standing there and talk about certain things that went on, during my high school career. That's really the first time in a long time that we've had just to get together and reminisce about the old days of playing.
I was 10 and 11 years old when Ray was playing and led Thompson to a 67-68 state championship.
Going up to the final fourth quarter, it was still 0-0.
It'll be second down and goal now. The ball back at the 12-yard line. A Ray Guy quarterback.
So I took the snap and I backed up in the pocket and I was standing there, and all of a sudden they came around in the outside, but the middle just opened up.
Ray Guy back to pass. Being chased. Oh, Ray Guy's loose. Ray may go. He trips and falls, and Ray Guy's into that end zone.
He scored the touchdown and put the broken wrist down.
And into the end zone goes Ray Guy for the Canton TD.
I especially remember him, you know, right down there, blocked that field goal with about 3 minutes left to beat Carrollton 7-6, and he was back there so quick. You know, I think he got kicked in the chin, because I remember his stitches the next day, and his daddy had him chopping barbecue the next morning after winning the state championship.
I played quarterback on offense, defensive back on defense, did all the specialty, which was kicking and kickoff, extra points and field goals.
Ray kicks off. He hooks the ball out over the stands, and the cheerleaders standing there and looking up, and the people in the stands are looking up. The ball comes over the stands, hooks back in, and sticks in the barbed wire fence on the hash mark out of the end zone. And the ball was punctured by the barbed wire fence.
I played basketball in high school. I was starting center. I was a pitcher in baseball.
A good friend of ours was Michael. He was a reserve, and Coach Lott had sent Ray down to the bullpen to warm up to go in. Well, he said he got out and squatted down there and said Ray threw it at about 100 miles an hour. When he took the mitt off, he threw it on the ground. He said, "He's ready, Coach."
I ran track in the spring, which I did the mile relay, the 440 relay, the broad jump, the triple jump.
Going to the track meet at Washington County, of course, we didn't have a track. You got to the triple jump, and it was like, who wants to do the triple jump? Ray, you do the triple jump. So Ray got the guy from Washington County to show him how to do the triple jump. He won that meet and wound up third in the state in the triple jump.
He was Wonder Boy. I mean, that was his nickname. That's what we called him, Wonder Boy. He just did things that nobody in this area had seen, or anywhere, really.
He is the first full-time punter ever elected to the Hall of Fame, Ray Guy.
When we finally got the news, I called his brother Al. He and I reminisced for about 45 minutes. We talked a while, and we laughed a while, and we cried a while.
It's not words to express it.
It's a wonderful thing. It's good for him. It's good for his town. It's good for all of us that played with him and known him all his life.
I look at it from the standpoint, okay, even though my name is etched on that bust, it's not mine. It's everybody's right here. Or anybody's had a part of me achieving what I set out to do. And it's going to be sitting there forever. Standing there listening to these guys, it really touched me again, because knowing these guys are my best friends. Yeah, I was blessed with an extraordinary gift. But my vision of greatness is not so much the individual, it's the people you're around. And if you got great people around you, then you'll be great yourself. So I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for being my friends. Thank you. Without them, I probably would not have get where I am. When we played Utah, it was snowing like crazy. I said, just hold that ball straight up and down. We're going to give it a ride.
I think Ray's major contribution to the game would be that he helped to make more people aware of the significance of special teams. I believe today, you know, we talk about the three aspects of the game: offense, defense, and special teams.
Going through this, and I see I've got recruiting letters you might want to say from colleges. This one here is from University of Alabama, and it's from Pat Dye, who was a tremendous football coach He says, I have been following your career in high school the last 2 years, and you have truly had an outstanding one. I sure wish we had you doing our punting and kicking off for us right now. If so, we would probably be undefeated instead of 4-2. I don't think I ever heard of Alabama going 4-2, but it does happen. Right now, we're headed over to the Southern Miss campus over here. I was looking for a school where everybody really knows everybody instead of just being a number on campus per se. Southern fit that mold.
I can certainly remember the first day of practice that we had. Ray was a freshman, and the special teams were out on the field, and all of a sudden we see the ball explode off of a foot. And I'd never seen anything like it, and we look and say, who is that? Payne said, that's the new freshman punter.
Well, yeah, there's a story that when PW was here, he's come on the field, and he said, I understand you can kick like a 40-yard field goal. And he said, yes, sir. He said, well, let me see you kick it. And he kicked the ball, and of course it went through the goal post and went over the fence and almost hit the middle of the road out there. I think he looked at Coach Hampcroft until he's better, and he says, hey, I don't want anybody coaching. Nobody touching him at all.
Yeah, leave it alone. We had one film that we kept watching before the draft, or I did anyway. I mean, every time, you know, I'd think Ray Guy, #1 punter, I'd go get this film. It was a 93-yard punt. I bet I looked at that over 100 times, trying to figure out if that was real or they were fooling us. You know, was it trick photography? I mean, you can look at punters all day and you never see punts like that.
You know, when we played Utah out in Logan, Utah, our senior year, it was snowing like crazy. During the game, Coach Underwood, he says, let's go there, try a field goal.
First of all, I thought the punting team was coming on, so I was walking off, and he grabs me, and he said, come on back in.
Buddy is my holder. Buddy does the holding for me. I told Buddy, I said, just hold that ball straight up and down. Well, we're gonna give it a ride. I don't know where it's going, but we're gonna give it a ride.
Well, he hit it, and I mean, there was no doubt. It not only goes through the uprights, it hit the field house. There's no question the kick would have been good from 70, 72 yards easily. Yeah, easily. Right. He just was a phenomenal athlete in anything that he did. Golf, football, basketball, baseball.
Now, I did play baseball, got drafted out of high school by the Cincinnati Reds. Went to Southern, where I was strictly a pitcher. Had pretty good fastball. Averaged about 98 miles an hour.
Ray and I went over to the baseball game at Pete Taylor Park. Coach Taylor says, you're going to pitch today. Then he let him know. He goes out on a mound and he throws a no-hitter. So we get through, and we come back over here to the dressing room. He gets dressed, and we go out to football practice, and I go up to PW and I say, Coach Underwood, you ain't gonna believe this. Ray Guy just threw a no-hitter over. I don't care. He plays football. I don't care about baseball. I mean, he can do anything he wanted to do. He's that kind of athlete.
Ray could play probably any position you want to play on the football field. He played quarterback, he played defensive back, he's a punter, he's a field goal kicker. But most of the thing is his arm. He had a great arm.
Sometimes it was kind of embarrassing to our quarterbacks, but they would laugh about it. But he had a stronger arm than any of our quarterbacks, and he could throw the ball further.
He worked with a lot of us in our warm-ups, throwing us balls, throwing us passes. And if you didn't know who he was, and you came out to watch practice, you saw this guy throwing balls, you thought that he was on a roster as a quarterback.
I would suspect that most of his career, high school, college, and even professionally, he was arguably the best athlete on the field.
I coached Ray as the safety. His senior year, he intercepted 8 passes and led the nation in total interceptions that year. He could have been a defensive back in the pros without any problem.
Ray always had fun. That's what, the sports are fun to him. Ray did everything with ease and enjoyed it so much. I mean, that was his life.
This spot right here that I'm showing you right now is what we call the Eagle Walk. You got all these banners up to indicate through the years the players that have come through Southern went on to bigger and better things. Majority of them have actually gone on to the NFL. Just to see my name down there amongst all that, what more can you ask?
It was in the 1973 draft. You go through your running backs and your wide receivers, and here was a punter. I thought, that'll be the day.
Just jotting down a few things on how I want to form this speech. How did I get here? What price did I have to pay? I'm headed out to Bud Holmes, who's my attorney, my agent, whatever you want to call him. He's been my attorney ever since I was in left Southern Miss. Bud's been my friend. He's been my commandant, second father, you might want to say, and I cherish him to no end.
Ray, let me ask you something. I know it's probably a big old lie, but I want to just go over it again.
All right.
When P.W. Underwood told me about the story that you were going to go to Alabama, and Bear Bryant came in and put his arm around you as you were walking out and said, son, you're going to play for me 4 years, and all you're going to do is kick, and you never will even get your uniform dirty.
Well, that story, that's the absolutely truth about that. I said, Bear, I appreciate that, but that's the worst thing you can say. I'm used to getting grass stains on my britches. I'm used to getting paint knocked off my helmet. I said, I'm used to doing that, and that's what I want to do.
Because everybody was looking at you, and the Saints were up here at summer camp, and everybody was just oohing and awing about how far you were kicking the ball. Yeah. And it wasn't like it is today. I don't remember a lot of people necessarily coming around.
No, during the time I was playing, the basic only thing you heard from different professional teams where you get letters from them. This letter right here I got in my hand is from Gil Brandt. He's the player personnel director and vice president of the Dallas Cowboys. I think of you as a punter and feel sure you will be a high draft choice. I hope the Dallas Cowboys will be fortunate enough to obtain you in this year's draft, which takes place in January of '73.
It was in the 1973 draft, and we were getting prepared. And, you know, you go through your running backs and your wide receivers, quarterbacks, offensive line, defensive line, linebackers, secondary, not so much kickers. And here was a punter, Ray Guy, Southern Mississippi, punter. I thought, that'll be the day, you know. And so you start watching film, and when you saw him punt, you realized that he was doing something that you'd never seen before. The more you watched it, the more you thought, I have to have that guy.
So we'd start thinking about who's the best guy at every list, and then all of a sudden, we get closer and closer. The best guy on the board of all of them was Ray Guy.
Of all the years that I was in a draft for the Oakland Raiders, the easiest draft choice we ever had was Ray Guy. I mean, that was 100% consensus.
Being a #1 draft as a punter, my biggest concern was the players.
You know, as a player, you look at other players being drafted, and I say, wow, are we spending a #1 draft choice on a punter?
You know, a lot of things go through your mind because it's, you know, if it's a place kicker or a punter, they're still kickers.
When I first reported in that first day of practice, being an old defensive guy, my first reaction, not even thinking about it, I go over with a defensive back because that's what I trained with at Southern.
We're going one-on-one drills, and he goes out there, he's going to take his turn. I thought that Madden was going to go crazy.
I see him go in as a defensive back. So I tell him, get out of there.
I heard him holler, what the devil you doing out there? Get your butt back over this side.
That was the last thing I was going to do, is have him be a backup safety and break a leg or something and not punt. He could have been an athlete in a lot of different positions and a lot of different areas, but he was such a great punter, that was never a decision.
Watching him practice and boom the balls at practice the way he did, it was quite amazing to watch a guy kick the ball as high and as far as he did. I had never played with anyone else who could do what Ray Guy could do, kicking the football.
Ray Guy changed the whole dynamics about punting. He was like another factor that if you were the opponent, you had to worry about, because Ray is going to basically get that ball down inside the 15, inside the 10. Now here comes an excellent defense on the field, pins the other offense in there, they punt it out, we get the ball back on the 40-yard line, and 2 or 3 plays we're scoring, and it's all because of the punt.
Ray was way ahead of his time. A lot of what we talk about today on special teams with the punting game, field position, I think prior to Ray Guy, I don't believe anyone ever talked about hang time.
We have an unofficial hang time of 5 seconds here.
Everybody out there was saying they never had seen it. They brand new to everybody, and people showing up out there to watch you with their stopwatch.
I didn't know what hang time was. I didn't relate it to what I was doing with the ball. I just knew I'd kick it high and long and kick it where I wanted to.
Just how flexible he was. He could get his legs over his head. It wasn't normal.
Ray Guy was an athlete, competitive athlete. He liked to get in the action. In Super Bowl 18, he made a play that was just incredible. He went up 10 feet in the air with one hand, pitched the ball, and punts it in rhythm inside Washington's 20-yard line.
Probably the only punter in the league who could do that. Just reach out and grab that and save the turnover early in the game, something that could have maybe determined the outcome of the game.
That's Ray Guy.
You know, 4th down is not a fun down. And I say this, and I say this honestly, Ray Guy, in some ways, made you enjoy 4th down.
When I heard Ray got inducted, I was happy. I was really, really thrilled for him because he deserves to be in there. People in the Hall of Fame have made an impact on professional football. And I truly believe that Ray should have gotten into the Hall of Fame years ago.
This year, we had to go to New York, you know, to the announcement and all that, and everybody's talking about this is your year going in. Well, it kind of gets to you. Your adrenaline starts kind of bubbling a little bit. I'm sitting in that room there, and it's like 5:30. The phone hadn't rung. About 5:35, it hadn't rung. And then I'm thinking, nah, it ain't gonna happen. Then about 5:42, the phone rang. And the guy says, Ray? I said, yes, sir. He said, this is Dave Baker. He said, I am the new incoming president of the Sports NFL Hall of Fame. I told everyone when you was elected that I'm going to be the one to make this call. He said, I want to be the first to congratulate you and welcome you into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I said, Dave, you were kidding me. He said, no, I'm not. I said, Dave, tell me you. I asked him 3 times, and all of a sudden, the 3rd time, it kind of sort of hit me. And it took me a long time.
You well know, hell, I thought about you like a son that I never had. Yeah, I know you were totally thrilled to get it, but I'll be frank, it is equally as thrilling to me. That day I talked to you, and you were crying. Hell, I started crying, you know, and...
First time you ever cried, didn't you?
Yeah, and I ain't gonna tell nobody. That's just a secret between us.
But I know you're very proud. You've worked hard for me. You've done a lot for me. It's been a long road to Canton. The hardest part about this speech, you start talking about who has played the greatest part in your life. And of course, that's your mom and dad. That's going to be a hard part. Instead of look here, I'm going to have to look up because that's where they're going to be. just jotting down a few things that popped to my head on how I want to form this speech. And I do have my light bulb up here. It is right there. It's glowing now. Since the day I've, got the announcement, I want the title of it to be The Road to Canton. And the road is talking about my life. It just still has not yet really soaked into me. But yet sitting here now and knowing that reality is fixing to be solid. You've been through all these roads and these detours and these forks in the road. Lost kind of little faith there a few years ago and all this, but I don't think I ever gave up hope.
When Ray gets up there and makes his speech at the Hall of Fame, you're going to have a lot of emotion go through you, and just talk from your heart. Just speak what's in your heart and how you feel. And that's what everybody wants to hear. I know that's what all the Hall of Fame guys want to hear. That is just a true you.
Technically, when I get up there, everything will come from here. But now I got it written down, and that way I'll have it on my notes down here. Life in general, from your high school days, your brothers, the coaches that was there in high school, in college and in pros and all that, the people you've played with, guys you played with, and the real meaning on my career. What did I get out of it? What do I really want this to mean to others? How did I get here? What price did I have to pay? What's going to be the hardest part about this speech? You start talking about influence. Who has played the greatest part in your life? And of course, that's your mom and dad. Talking about both of them, dad and mom and all this, and looking down and they're not sitting there. That's going to be a hard part. Instead of look here, I'm going to have to look up because that's where they're going to be. Once it gets there, that moment right there is when it's really going to come out on what I really want to say. I can sit here, every day and write words down, but it's really hard to put into words what this is truly going to mean now that it's finally happened. So, hey, it's here now, so, it's going to be interesting.
Now you're in the Hall of Fame, and you're in the Hall of Fame forever, and enjoy it. When you go back there to Canton, make a memory, and then remember that the rest of your life, and it will be part of you the rest of your life. You'll be known as Ray Guy, Hall of Famer, and embrace that, and enjoy that, and live that way.
Traveler, we have been on this road for a while.
So how do I close out the speech? There's a certain thing you want to leave open. I'm going to be influenced on younger kids now that they see this. So I got to leave that door where it's still unlocked. The good times, bad times. What I gained from both of them. I guess that would be like you call the ending of it.
So I will see you down the road. I will see you down the road.
From that little house we went to yesterday morning, the roads I have traveled between that little house and Canton, Ohio, I don't know where in the hell I've been. The main thing is I want to kind of portray what it has done for me to make me a better person. But I think I got the GPS to work right. I'm finally in Canton, Ohio.